In today's episode of the Python Presents podcast, guys, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Katie Hayes, and she's hailing over as the head of marketing at Ozone API. And Ozone API is basically the open API solution for banks that really want to take it to the next level. And today we want to figure out together what this is all about, what Ozone API is actually for, and how their clients actually leveraging the technology to drive their business forward. So, Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Of course. So maybe give us a 360 overview. What is Ozone API all about in your own words?
Sure. So we're a privately funded fintech startup based in London, the UK. We also have an office in Pune in India. And the Ozone API empowers banks and financial institutions to adapt and thrive in this new world of open finance. So what we do is we provide technology to deliver compliant open APIs, making it easy for banks and financial institutions to monetize the open banking and open finance opportunity globally.
That is a very succinct description, and I think it gives us a very good overview. Maybe tell us a little bit more about the organizations that benefit the most. Like, how is an organization that benefits most from Ozone API structured? What size do they need to have a certain throughput? Like, how do you think about an ideal fitting company?
Sure. So our direct B2B customers include banks, central regulators, and financial institutions worldwide, and especially ones that are looking for a compliant solution. So much like an ozone layer, we provide a layer of protection for banks and FIs. And the Ozone API powers open implementations for over 50 banks across the world. So we started in the UK and Europe. We have extended our footprint to LATAM and the Middle East. And we work with banks such as Tide and Moniz and quite a wide range of partners. When it comes to regulators, our three co-founders actually led and authored the UK standards for open banking. They were independent contractors for OBIE, and that's where Ozone was really born. They provided the sandbox environment, which is still used by OBIE, and from there we've grown. So Chris Michael, Freddie Giara, and Hugh Davis, they are our co-founders and are really pioneers in the space.
Very interesting. Now, who would you say within these organizations is typically the champion? Like, who is saying, we need something like Ozone? Is that coming from the CTO side? Does it coming from the C-suite side? Like, who is actually bringing in, the need and the drive to bring in Ozone API?
Sure, good question. We've actually just worked on our buyer personas, and we have a bit of a mix. So there's one element of compliance, ticking the boxes. What do they need for this compliant API solution? You're right, definitely CTOs, chief product officers, those sort of technical roles. The broader product teams as well. And then a lot of banks and FIs have roles such as head of open banking, head of innovation, those types of roles, digital transformation, that sort of thing. So we make sure that we are speaking to the right people and are sharing the right information at the right time. So obviously the conversation may start with our commercial teams, but then as we go deeper and look into maybe a technical demo, we would bring in our technical team to do that.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, how do these folks learn about you guys? Like, what's their journey looking like? Or in other words, what are sort of the client acquisition channels that you guys leverage?
Sure. So as I mentioned before the call, we are relatively new. I'm also relatively new to Ozone API. So I've been with the company for about 5 months. And we really have leveraged our thought leaders back to our co-founders. They're really prevalent in the space. And our main channel has actually been public relations. So we work with a very niche PR agency called Open Banking Excellence, where we're focusing on things like press releases for our big partnerships, product launches, those sorts of things, thought leadership content in op-eds, if there's an opportunity for expert commentary, and then also event activity. So Hugh and Chris, two of our co-founders, do a lot of speaking on a public forum globally. Okay. From there, I think we're very much in that phase of brand awareness, and we are focusing on our own channels. So LinkedIn and Twitter are our social channels. I'm also growing our content marketing efforts. So as our resource grows, so will our content. But it's very much about educating our audiences, because this is quite a new and rapidly evolving space. Open banking is now more commonly referred to as possibly open finance, and we're moving towards this open data economy. So we want to make sure that we are taking everyone on a journey with us, educating them along the way, because it is really new and exciting, and doesn't necessarily have to be intimidating.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, in this, we actually were saying there's a switch of terms, there's a focus switch in the industry. What role do you think the website plays? Like, how do you think about the website when it comes to the journey? Because, you know, often, obviously, the journeys of them getting to know you guys can be probably relatively long, but like, how do you think about, you know, their the role of the website in that journey?
So the website is essentially your brand home. The landing page or homepage is your storefront window of your store. And we are actually completely revamping our website at the moment. So we're in the process of doing a rebrand and re-looking at all our key messaging, because if we meet someone in person, or somebody hears about us or reads an article where we're mentioned, the first place they are going to go is our website. And so it's really important that we get that right. And we're on a journey and really excited about where it's going.
Very cool. Now, you as a marketer, because we talk about, you know, websites in different industries quite a bit, like what have you learned? Like what would you consider to be sort of approaches, tools, methods that you've learned over the years that are helpful when it comes to communicating the message right and converting people that are coming to the website actually into, you know, sometimes sales conversations, sometimes leads? Like what have you picked up over the years to be very helpful?
Sure. So my background is predominantly in digital marketing, and I'm a big believer in integrated digital marketing campaigns. So saying the right message to the right people at the right time on the right platform is a big one for me. I think a big learning that I've had in my career to date is to collaborate really closely with your sales team, your business development unit, because essentially you are working together with very much aligned objectives. So I think getting that right is really important. At Ozone API, we use HubSpot, and I work very closely with our VP of growth, ensuring that we are set up for success. So we're doing things like having automated email sequences, using landing pages, using the lead generation tools, that sort of thing. It is still very early days, but I think once we have set these strong foundations, we'll be able to scale rapidly as the business grows.
Very cool. Okay, I mean, we talked about what you guys are doing. We talked about the channels a little bit, the role of the website. What I would do is I would love to learn a little bit about yourself, right? About yourself as a marketer, because it's always super interesting for our listeners to hear. There's so much content out there for marketers these days, right? You could be reading and learning, and you could be probably the rest of your life studying marketing in a way. Where do you personally like to get your information? Like, what is sort of, you know, peer groups, places, sites, communities where you think there's high quality information for marketers these days?
Sure. So I have an assortment of sources as such. I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. I think it's a great place to network. I'm quite new to the fintech space, so I've been networking there. There is a Slack channel called Fintech Marketers Hub. I joined that community, which is great. They have started having some in-person community events in London, and it's a great place to just share ideas if you're looking for any suppliers, a place to advertise roles that you may be recruiting for. That's a great place. In terms of inspiration, growing content, HubSpot has a great knowledge base. That's a great go-to. I also enjoy podcasts. There's so many podcasts and webinars out there that have been very useful to me. For instance, Diaries of a CEO, hearing players there speaking about their brand and marketing journey. I really enjoy that. And back to the FinTech Marketing Hub, they've had a series of interviews and webinars with marketers in the space as well. So that's always good. I think regardless of what you're marketing, the basics apply, but it's been really helpful for me to understand the nuances of the fintech marketing space with these sources more recently.
It's actually a very interesting theme. We have a lot of marketers on the show that share that same perception, which is marketing, specifically when people changing jobs, that the deep dive into the industry is probably the most important or most helpful thing at the very beginning, rather than any tools and optimizations. That is Super interesting. I got some rapid fire questions to wrap it up for today. Are you ready for those?
Sure.
What is the last book you read or the last podcast you listened to? Yeah.
The last book I read or podcast? I would say probably the last podcast I listened to was The Diaries of a CEO, and there was his name fails me, but he was head of brand at Nike, or Nike, however you want to pronounce it, which was really interesting. Latest book I've read, I mostly like to read fiction, sort of bubblegum for the brain away from work. And The Book of Two Ways is a recent one that I've read.
It's a very nice expression, bubblegum for the brain. I'll keep that with me. Very good. What's the one thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
So Ozone API, we are focusing on our global expansion. We have proven our product and our service in the UK and Europe, and now we're trying to make sure that we are very present in new markets. So for instance, I've mentioned LATAM. We've recently partnered with Visa and Finero Connect in LATAM and the Caribbean. We're working a lot with a variety of partners in the Middle East, which is really exciting. And then also in Canada, we'll announce a partnership there shortly. So really focusing on our global expansion and growing our team and business.
If there would be no boundaries in technology, right? So as a marketer, you have a magic wand, you can do anything. What's the one thing you would fix for your role as a marketer?
The one thing I would fix. I think probably for marketers, budget constraints are always a challenge. So if I could wave a wand and have unlimited budget, that would be brilliant.
Nice. The very last question, right? I would love to do a little bit of time travel and go with you back to the days of Rhodes University, right? You're heading out of formal education into the world of marketing, growth, but obviously you were also, you were a writer in many terms as well. What's the one advice you would give yourself for your journey?
Oh, this is a good question. As you've mentioned, my role, I have evolved in my career. I think in the more recent years, I would say focus on your top priorities, keep your head out of the weeds, and make sure that you're building a diverse, talented team so that you are actually bringing in people who are stronger than yourself in areas that you can be a strong team overall. And I think maintaining your sense of humor is really important.
I think that's actually a very good one. Nobody ever mentioned that one. I think that's pretty good actually to get through all the challenges that come on a daily basis. So, Katie, I really appreciate you joining us for the Pathwing Presents podcast today. I want to give you the very last word. If people would be forgetting all that we discussed about Ozone API today, what's the one thing they should remember?
Thank you. So Ozone API is on a mission to accelerate open banking and open finance globally by providing central regulators of business with the technology to build a thriving ecosystem. And we really do that. We help banks deliver great standard-based APIs. So for more information, head over to our website, OzoneAPI.com. It will be revamped soon.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathwing Presents.
Thank you.